Hey, good morning, guys and gals. Welcome to another episode of Opa's Vintage Garage. Well, today we're working on a 2017 truck. It's a Chevy 1500 with the Z71 off-road package, whatever the heck that means. I have a feeling that they probably printed a bunch of those stickers up and figured, well, heck, let's see if we can get another 2,000 for this truck. But anyway, we put a leveling kit in this truck for my son a few months ago and noticed, boy, the brake pads are getting pretty thin on this thing. So we're going to do this work today. Enough talk, let's get going. Alrighty, well, let's get these nuts cracked loose. We can lift her up.
Guys and gals, I hate to throw this disclaimer in, but please remember it's dangerous to work on your own vehicle, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Use this video at your own risk. And remember, be careful, be cautious, double check everything.
All right, let's get her lifted up. Okay, let's get a jack stand underneath that baby.
Also, before you jack up your vehicle, don't forget to block the rear wheels if you're lifting up the front. It's very important that you get those wheels blocked in both directions so it doesn't roll.
Okay, everything looks secure. Oh yeah, there's not much left. Make sure we get that in there. You don't want that to strip out. That will be a little bit of pain. There we go. Oh, all right, she's gonna turn. Oh, easy peasy. Very nice. Okay, no problems. Okay, now we need to get the caliper pin bolts out first, and that'll remove the unit, and then all we'll have left is the bracket. Then we'll remove the bracket, get that all cleaned up, Let's see if I can get some more lights on this stuff. All right, that looks to be a 19. I think that nut right here, you want to hang on to that as well, because it's probably going to spin on you. There, 3/4, okay. Okay, that all looks good. Okay, now to loosen up this caliper, sometimes all you have to do is just kind of wiggle it like that. What that's going to do is compress the pistons in slightly, just enough to get her to slide off. Okay, so this hardware came with my new kit, so if we bend it, that's all right. Okay, that was enough wiggling. Now, get one of my hooks, and then we'll hook it up, find some place up there to hook this thing. Okay. Okay, everything looks good. No excessive rust. Very nice. Okay, we'll just hook him on a spring. Bolts out that hold the basically the retaining bracket, or the bracket that hold the caliper bracket that holds both the caliper piston assembly, and then it also enables the brakes to move back and forth in these clips. So let's get those off. I think they're 19s as well. Nope. Must be 18. Oops. Yep. Okay. And these are pretty snug usually, so we're gonna have to get. There we go. This should help. Alrighty, you got that guy broke loose. Oh, we'll get the bottom one. Okay, let's see if we can find a little better place for this guy. There we go. There, much better. Now he's out of the way. If you turn the wheel, but I think I got enough bend on my wrench, I can get this on. Oh yeah. There. There. And there's your assembly right there. Oop. All the touch points look good. Actually, everything looks pretty good. little bit of rust on, but of course you put some Loctite on there, so that's probably why they're a little snug. But yeah, everything else, everything appears to be pretty good, so I think this is going to be a relatively painless brake job. There. And Rotors, a bit of a line where the pads kind of wear away the steel, but we've got new rotors, and we bought some coated ones this time, so that was a good time. Take a little brush. Clean up some of those spots where this bolts onto the front assembly here. Okay. That looks good. There. All right, let's get this caliper moved a little closer, then we can get these pistons slid in. Okay. Now, what you want to do is you want to check your brake reservoir. Make sure you don't have any excess fluid. Chances are good it's way below the top fill. So go ahead and just push these two pistons in your caliper. Pretty flexible. You want to make sure these little boots are not too stiff, because when you push these in, they collapse like an accordion. So you want to make sure not only does the piston go in, but you want to make sure that collapses evenly and not buckle up, because what's going to happen is you may get this between the actual piston and as well as the brake pad. And that's not good, because it will potentially tear. We had a slight camera malfunction, which I guess is better than having a malfunction to stop the project. So I've got the spreader in here. Now I'm just pushing, I'm retracting the pistons. So nothing special, it's basically just a gizmo that spreads and pushes them back in, and it looks like all of the pistons are moving in just fine. Okay, gonna retract it out. There, easy as that. All this thing does is it's hooked on there with a magnet. It's pretty clever. So now what you want to do is do a little inspection again, just to make sure, yep, everything went in just fine, moved in evenly. Okay, so let's get this guy out of the way again. Okay. All right. Now let's move over to the vise and get the caliper bracket cleaned up. Get some grease on there, and we'll go from there. Now for a brake job, we're going to be doing a pretty important part of this. So you want to make sure, there's a couple things you want to make sure. You want to, hopefully the kit you bought has these replacement kit clips, and then you also want to make sure you get these pins cleaned up. So this is what the caliper slides on during the braking process. You want to make sure that's clean on the inside and well lubed. So let's get the brake pads, the new pads, out. Here's our new clips. And pads. There's going to be an inside and an outside pad. So as this mounts on the truck, this is your inside pad, and that should have the, see where the pistons, you can see the indentations where the pistons sat, and it's going to have a little clip on there. It's a wear indicator squealer. That's these little silver tabs right here. When this pad gets down to a certain point, that thing's going to be squeaking on the rotor, telling the driver that you need to replace your pads. So these all look good. Now there should be like another rivet. Yeah, there's some rivets down here on the other side. So they're relying more, I guess, on adhesive and these 2 points. But anyway, make sure you get those right. Now let's, my whacker. There. Get her sideways. Let's get her tapped out. Okay. Yep, everything's looking good. All right. And I'm just getting the hardware, old hardware out. It's looking okay, but I still think I am going to buff this up a little bit. Now you can use a file on it if it's very rusty. It's a little hand file, but it's all looking pretty good. I don't think I'm going to have to worry about it. Where did I put... Oh, there's my other one. This one's a little smaller and a little more aggressive. brake clean. That's looking good. Hit her one more time. There. Now we'll get the new hardware snap back into place. Nothing too complicated, just some little indentations that snap in. There. The nice thing is they keep it idiot proof. They are identical, so it doesn't make any difference which one you use. They are universal for the left or right side of the caliper. Okay, so let's get some shop rags. Oh, let me get you adjusted a little bit here. There. All right. All right, let's get these pins out. Hit her with a little brake clean. There we go. That's looking good. Okay, I think I've got my grease, brake grease right here. Okay. Good old caliper grease. I think it's synthetic. There's the pieces of my camera mount for my other camera, or actually cell phone. But we'll see how the GoPro does. Okay, now you don't have to get carried away on this grease, fellas. Just get her lubed up. Put a nice coating on there. Guys will get carried away and just put a ton of grease on this pin, and it's just not needed. So that's about all you need. Spin it a little bit. Put it back on your seal. Moves nicely. You're good to go. Alrighty. Let's do the other side. Just repeat. Just trying to get you in here a little better, boys. boys and gals. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's looking good. Get your new piece of hardware. Remember, that goes to the top where those little notches are. And get her lined up. There. You want to put a little grease on these ends, just to make sure everything fits okay. I'm sorry, make sure that it slides good on the inside of here. Because if you look at the old pads, grab the other one. Don't know how well they were sliding anymore because one's a little thicker than the other. That tells me they weren't sliding evenly. So, and when you get to the end like that, sometimes they want to hang up a little bit. Snow, ice, etc. Does make it for an area that grease gets washed off of. So let's get this last caliper pin all cleaned up here. All right. There we go. There. I'll just repeat the process with the grease. Spin it. Oh, it's a good idea to get your air out. There. Now, while it's handy, not a bad idea to do one last little buff of the mating surface. Just to make sure that sits nice and flush on the knuckle. There, hit her with a little brake clean. Beautiful. Okay. That is ready to go. Ready to put back on the vehicle. Okay, now we got the doggy barking. Now, you want to make sure that you get this surface where the new rotor sits clean. You got a little bit of rust on there, so I'm going to have to get the air compressor started up here, so we're going to have a little bit of noise.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, well, welcome to Amateur Hour. Unfortunately, my remote mic died. Battery level was done, and I forgot to check it. So anyway, here you're going to see me using my air tool. I've got a small 3M Scotch pad on the head of that. It's kind of a poly wound with an abrasive on it. It really cleans things up nice. And I'm just hitting it now with my little stainless steel brush just to get that center nice and clean so there's no buildup. Anything to do, any additional cleanup is always good because you want that rotor that I'm mounting on there right now to be nice and flat up against that wheel bearing hub, the hub assembly that you put the rotor on. It's key that that's nice and flat against that wheel bearing hub because it will throw your wheel alignment off and wear your tires unevenly. So there I am saying I'm going to go get some anti-seize for the next guy to do the brake job. That's probably going to be me because again this is my son's truck. So I'm going to put a little anti-seize on that bolt that mounts the caliper to the wheel bearing hub assembly. It's a good idea to do that. Also, it's a good time to mention that I bought a set of the Mac torque bits. I don't remember the catalog number off the top of my head, but it's the ones that are guaranteed to bite and not strip out the head of the bolts that you're trying to remove. It did take a couple of tries because in my brain they look smaller, so I'd always grab the size below I needed. But I think I finally figured out which one to grab. But I've been really happy with them. So there, I'm just tightening it down. Now remember, fellas, you don't have to go crazy. Tighten that up. Just get her snug because you want to be able to keep that in place while you put the caliper bracket as well as the head with the pistons in it. So right there, I'm just double checking and make sure I didn't bend anything or there's any resistance. Right there, I'm putting a little thread locker on the bolts for the caliper bracket. You don't want those things backing out. So make sure you clean up the threads really well. I thought I had a nice segment of me using a stainless steel wire wheel on a drill, cleaning those. Unfortunately, I must have deleted it or something, but you want to make sure those threads are nice and clean before you put the thread locker in and then torque those down to spec. Now I'm putting little thread locker on that second bolt. That's 2 of 2, and the next step then will be tightening them down with, I think I probably use my little Bosch battery powered impact gun. I think I bought that at Tractor Supply. It was on sale, it was on clearance, and then I also had an additional coupon. I want to say those things are about 175 bucks, and I think I ended up paying $40 for it. So I was pretty happy with the price, and so far so good. I did use, okay, let me get back to the video here. So there I'm torquing those bolts down, and I'm going to have to get up because you want to torque those things down. And now when I looked up all data for this truck, it's 170 foot-pounds, and I kind of had to lean into my torque wrench there to get 170 to click. But I've got a lot of confidence going in. Threads are clean, red thread locker, and then recently calibrated torque wrench. So 170 foot-pounds for those front caliper brackets. Okay. Now I'm just, now I mentioned this when I was at the vise, but right there you can see me putting a little bit of the caliper grease on the ends of the brake pads. That's that area that I'm greasing goes into the replaceable stamped metal clips that are on the caliper bracket. Basically, you want to do that to ensure that they move back and forth, and one doesn't lock up, and then you're only going to have one pad doing all the stopping, and then you're going to have basically you're going to check your brakes, and one pad's going to be half consumed, and the other one's going to be like new. Right there, I am putting just a light coat of caliper grease on the pistons. It's just a really good thing to do to prevent any kind of rust back there. I know the pads have got they've got like a fibered material laminated to the back of it, but I still like to add just a little bit of grease to that. So now I'm sliding in that inner pad. Remember, fellas, that's the one that has the little squealer clips, and they've got the basically they've got those rivets spaced out so they don't interfere with the two pistons on that caliper. Now I'm doing the same thing to the outer pad, getting that lubed up nice. Okay, getting it lined up, and they went in there very nicely, and I was very happy with the quality of the replacement clips that I got with the pads and rotors that I purchased from Napa. I've also had good luck with O'Reilly's, but you know, for U.S. vehicles, I've been pretty happy with the parts I've been getting in Napa. Now right there, I am hitting it one last time with brake clean. I am wearing the gloves to ensure I don't get you know, any hand oil or sweat. Excuse me, any sweat on that rotor. And I know they're coated, and you don't have to clean them, but I just like to do one last clean, you know, before I mount the pack of the caliper assembly with the pistons. Taking it off the hook. By the way, I invested in those hooks last year, and so much easier than using zip ties and twine. So I think they were $8 at Napa. Okay, right there I am just slightly pushing in the caliper pins that the piston assembly slides on during the braking process. Also, I just double checked while I was pushing in to make sure there was no air inside of there still trapped. I did do a pretty good job doing that while it was still on the bench, but just make sure that, and it is easy to check when you push the pin in. If it slightly pops out, there's some air in there. If you're having a difficulty getting that air out, what I recommend is using a pick. Carefully use that pick, because you don't want to puncture that little rubber boot that the pin pops into. And I'll just go under the lip, pull up slightly, and just release the air. Okay, just finishing up tightening those bolts down by hand. I'm going to grab my battery powered hand tool, get those snugged up, and then grab my torque wrench. Per all data for a 2017 Chevy Silverado 1500 LT, they had the recommendation of 75 foot-pounds for those caliper bolts. That's the bolt that goes into pin that slides the caliper during the braking process. So again, I'm torquing those down to 75 foot-pounds. Please make sure that you look up your specific vehicle for that torque specification. It's critical that you get those torque values correct on anything that you're working on. Don't guess. Now, good and tight, look it up, get your spec, get your torque wrench set, and get it done right. Right here, wrapping up the brake job, putting the tire back on again, and it just when you're working on your garage floor like this, just straddle that tire and it lifts right up very easily onto the hub. I do like to do these videos just in my house garage using a simple floor jack and jack stands, because that's all you really need. Just be careful. Always block the wheels to make sure it doesn't roll. But it can be done in a house garage. So right there, I'm just installing the lugs, the lug nuts by hand, just a couple of turns, just to ensure that I'm not cross-threading those studs on there. And then I'm going to use my impact, and then obviously set my torque wrench, and then torque those to the proper spec. I can't remember off the top of my head what the lug bolts need to be torqued to. I just looked it up in the owner's manual, and it was in the back. So I got my torque wrench set, and then when I am torquing it, you're going to notice that I do a star pattern. That's the best way to ensure that it's going to seat fully onto the rotor and wheel bearing hub assembly, because that's like the final clamp that clamps everything together. You want to make sure that it's tightened down evenly. So anyway, guys and gals, that's going to wrap up this video for Opa's Vintage Garage. Thanks so much for watching. This is part one, front only. Obviously, I'm only going to do the front right, and obviously after I do this, I did the left, but it's the same exact process. Part two, I will get up in a week or so. That's going to be the rear brakes on the same vehicle. So, guys and gals, thanks again from Opa at Opa's Vintage Garage. God bless and have a great day.